A new trailer dropped for The Haunting of Bly Manor, coming to Netflix on October 9th. From the producers of The Haunting of Hill House comes a new ghost story featuring some familiar faces. Let's comb through the trailer frame by frame. The Haunting of Bly Manor is based on Henry James's Turn of the Screw, but if this show is anything like The Haunting of Hill House, which was based on Shirley Jackson's book, we can expect some healthy deviation from the source material. Still, this trailer is full of little moments and themes that will seem familiar to anyone familiar with James's work, including this opening moment of a young girl, Flora, standing at the edge of a lake with what looks like some seriously ominous intent. In the original work, Flora is found by a lake, presumably speaking with a ghost, or so her new nanny believes. Dollhouses in horror movies are always creepy. Flora owns one, and she's holding what looks to be a truly horrific porcelain baby as she splits her time playing with it and staring at a closed door. It's also worth noting that there are plenty of other non-dollhouse-sized dolls in the room. If we had to guess, we'd say this is probably going to take a turn for the worst at some point in the show. The next shot is an unusual one. It seems to be in first person with someone, a child maybe? Certainly someone at Flora's height, though it's hard to tell if they're just crouching down by the moment itself. She puts what looks like a mask on their face as the voiceover says, "There you are, now let's come up with a story." If you hadn't already put it together, it looks like Flora's dollhouse is designed to be a replica of her actual house, the sprawling Bly Manor, which we see here from the outside. Here's a familiar face for Hill House fans. Nell Crane herself, Victoria Pedretti, is featured in this show in a new role. In the novel, she is called a governess, but here in the synopsis of the show, she's called an au pair, which is basically a live-in nanny. Moments after the au pair says in voiceover that she knows what loss is, we get a disturbing shot of a bloody hand trembling on a bed. It's impossible to see who it belongs to or what happened, but it's easy to assume it's nothing good. There are two children in Turn of the Screw, Flora, who we've met, and her older brother Miles, who we finally see here. Like everyone else in the trailer, he doesn't seem to be having a great time. Notably, the voiceover here is the au pair saying, "Your parents loved you so, so much." In Turn of the Screw, Miles and Flora were orphaned after their parents tragically died. We can assume that is being brought over from the source material. Flora seems to be the conduit for most of the creepy stuff in this trailer, including just casually hanging out in a graveyard. The au pair seems to be trying to comfort her about the death of her parents. In a way, they'll always be here. Sounds like a recipe for ghosts to us. Tania Miller plays Mrs. Groves, another character from the novel. Mrs. Groves is the housekeeper of the manor, and judging by this introduction, where she seems to be looking at a strange crack in the wall, she's not having a very great time either. The lake is a featured part of the Turn of the Screw story, but it's impossible to tell how it's going to be used in the show. In this blink and you'll miss it moment, we can see a figure standing by it in the dead of night. In the original story, the au pair believes she sees the ghost of the children's last caretaker, a woman named Miss Jessel, standing by the shore. Our best guess is that this figure is either Jessel herself or Jessel's ghost. It's difficult to make out what exactly is going on in these next brief clips, but they're certainly very ominous. Hill House fans are sure to recognize the face of Oliver Jackson-Cohen, however, who played the youngest Crane brother, Luke. Raoul Coley plays the manor's chef, Owen. We don't know much about him yet, but apparently he is someone who Mrs. Groves is able to confide in as she goes through whatever breakdown she seems to be experiencing. If the dollhouse itself wasn't creepy enough, it looks like Bly's basement is full of dolls too. And one of them moves. Great. These rapid-fire clips feature tiny moments like Miles flicking a lighter, someone walking toward that spooky lake, Flora getting a bath while staring at something over the au pair's shoulder, and the dollhouse opening by itself. It's difficult to make out exactly what's happening here, but we can see that the au pair is being dragged underwater by the neck by, well, something. If we had to guess, we'd say that the lake is home to someone or something that isn't exactly friendly. This shot immediately jumps to the au pair staring into a full bathtub, so maybe it's every body of water that represents some sort of ghostly threat in the house. It's very difficult to make out, but it looks like there's someone or something crawling around behind Flora. She doesn't seem fazed by this at all. That's definitely not a normal person surfacing from the lake water. We can't make out too much, but it seems to have skin where its eye sockets ought to be. As Mrs. Groves says the dead in voiceover, we get a series of even more nightmarish moments, including her having some sort of fit or migraine. She's rubbing the back of her head as her neck snaps back, seconds before it cuts to a clip of a man apparently getting sucked back into the house. This trailer just keeps raising the bar on creepy dolls. This one almost looks like a voodoo doll, very homemade, and it features a woman with no real face. Maybe it has something to do with the thing in the lake? Oliver Jackson-Cohen's character narrates that he's seen things, and that it's like he's in hell. So whatever is going on, it's likely not isolated to one character's experiences or delusions. Something might be physically wrong with Mrs. Groves, but this character is also being put through the ringer. This is said over some creepy clips of feet walking, doors glowing, people drowning, and kids fighting. Another familiar face, or two of them for Hill House fans. Henry Thomas played the younger Hugh Crane in the show. Here he seems to have a very maniacal-looking twin or doppelganger tormenting him. Be sure to take the time and notice some of these split-second ghosts, like a child in a nightgown wearing some sort of porcelain or plastic mask, and a man with glowing eyes looming over the au pair's shoulder. Also in this montage, the au pair apparently bound and gagged, someone being dragged back into the manor at night, some Polaroid photos being snapped that we can guess will develop into something horrifying later, Mrs. Gross screaming, and a crayon drawing that reads, "Come home." All of this is played as Owen says the people, they're born here, they die here. A woman watching what looks like water closing in from the ceiling of her bedroom, and the au pair panicking in what looks like a child's closet. The poor au pair sees and feels a hand while washing the dishes in the kitchen. Notably, she's standing there in broad daylight surrounded by people. Like Hill House before it, Bly Manor is very likely going to keep the scares coming even when you least expect them. The Haunting of Bly Manor will premiere on Netflix on October 9th. What did you think of the trailer? Let us know in the comments and be sure to subscribe. We'll be bringing you more videos about Bly Manor, so stay tuned.